I don't have to just practice here. I can practice here with more time to spend time with your loved one, to spend time with your kids, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, I've just never been more happy in my life. We used to see a ton of patients a day, about 150, and now we're down to about 65 people a day. Have you had that same response? Have you been doing it long enough to see that?
Right. I was never at 150 patients. My dad started my practice about in the 80s, and he used to see 100 patients a day. And I thought, how in the world are you, in the same size footprint of our office? And I still don't fathom that, but I was 50, 60, and now maybe 30 to 45, and I love it.
Right.
I love, because we got into this to practice the way that you want to practice, right? To interact with the people the way that you want to do it. You spend a lot of time, money, and a lot of your life, and I wanted to be able to connect with people, and I feel that I can do that now. That you are seeing the patients that you need to, and the ones that are doing well, you don't necessarily have to, but you're able to talk to them about their lives and other things besides, just having to run from patient to patient to patient. And it's been a big benefit, I think, in our practice. Are you finding that you are able to travel more or have that time that you were sort of looking for?
Absolutely. To answer your question, yes, I have a lot more time. But really where I found that I use more time is interacting with patients.
Which is great.
I don't have to go chair to chair to chair to chair 150 times a day. I get to stop and say, hey, so what's going on? What sport are you playing? Or, what kind of dance are you doing? Or are you still doing piano? I know your mom said you're a great pianist. And I enjoy that. I enjoy talking to people. It's another great topic. I don't know how you use dental monitoring as far as interacting with patients and parents, but I love it. I think it's the best thing. And I've talked to doctors, and they'll say, that makes me nervous. I don't want the patients to know, be able to get a hold of me. If they need something, they'll call me, and then I'll call them back. And I found patients actually respect our time more. But I answer stuff all day long, every weekend, et cetera, even when I'm not on call, because it's just such a great touch point. What I hated was playing phone tag, because as well as I do, you have a crazy day and someone's calling you, and then they call you a second time, and you literally haven't had time to go call them. And now I explain it at the new patient consult. I say, this is great. You and I get to be in contact whenever we want, on a time that works for you and a time that works for me, and no one drops that ball. And, honestly, if you're being honest with yourself, usually it was us that dropped the ball, because we had too many irons in the fire at that point.
Right. Not that we're meaning to. We just, we're spreading very thin. We give all of our time, and we want to treat everybody with that same level of care, same level of respect. And I think you're exactly right. It took that out of it.
Pressure off of it. Yeah.
Well, and that's the way of the world now, right? Everybody, I mean, I'm a millennial, and, calling people, the phone actually calls people. That's not what I use it for mainly. And I think the text messaging through the app is a great communicator, a great tool that we get to use to, I think you're right, to communicate with people, but yet they're going to respect your time, which is not something that we're used to, right? We're expected to be available. And I think that it's a way for a mom to quickly send a message, and then maybe she's cooking dinner or doing something else, and you're going to get back to her when you can. And we're kind of in these long-term conversations, right? With friends, whoever we're texting.
Sure.
And I think, why not be able to use that to leverage that for your healthcare? These people have a lot of other things going on in their lives. We want to think we're the most important thing, but I try to look at it from a consumer standpoint. I have, my time is very limited,
Sure.
and I don't want to spend a lot of it going to the doctor or doing this or that. And if I can communicate in a quick, effective way, it makes my experience so much better. And I feel that if I can get the answer I need, it's just a big benefit. Yeah. So, and I think most people are going to look at it like that.
As an older orthodontist, you build your practice based on your personality, and people picked me, and good for me, pat on the back for me. And it's really not about you, it's about the patients. And after COVID, the world did change. And I think what we're seeing is people come into my office, and our perimeter of where we pull patients from has expanded dramatically. Yeah. So I used to never go talk to practices that were 30 minutes away, an hour away, 2 hours away. I have great relationships with those people now because I said, I can save your patients 60, 70, 80% visits driving for 2 hours because we're the closest town to you guys. And I work with the general dentist, and they love it. And so, everyone thinks COVID's a bad thing. You learn from every mistake. You learn from all the bad things that happens in life. And for me, it was, I don't have to just practice here. I can practice here with more time to spend time with your loved one, to spend time with your kids, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. So for me, I've just never been more happy in my life.
And I think COVID also, it showed people they don't necessarily have to live where they work. We've had so many people moving to our area, maybe moving out of our area or traveling more. And the dental monitoring, allows us to still treat those patients. We've had people who have moved who didn't have to change orthodontists.
Right. Or kids that go to college, 2 hours away that they can't come see you, but now you're just clipping right along through their treatment.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
And it opens up a whole new, patient base, like I said. And we were able to retain people that I did think, they're in Georgia or Texas or wherever. We're still able to treat them because they still come back maybe one time for retainage or refinement, but not that consistency that they used to have to come.
That was never an option before.
Right.
Particularly when I started in 1995. I mean, and people are always so disappointed when they have to transfer, because you've developed a relationship with them. They trust you. They chose you to have the privilege of working on their kids or themselves. And there's always a cost expense in transferring. Mm-hmm. They never like the second person because they think we're all alike, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to have a great, beautiful smile like you do, and I've got this horrible smile, and they're like, oh, I really liked her better than I liked him. And so we kind of get rid of that. We get rid of that dark cloud over, well, you're going to spend more money. It's not going to be like our office. I don't know, exactly how they do things, but I'll send my treatment plan, and then that's it.
Yeah, it made our world a little bit smaller in a good way. It made us to be able to, and still stay in touch with them. Like you say before, we're able to still communicate with the patients, and I think they feel a little bit more, like you're more accessible, you're more attainable. Sure. Than it used to be doctor, and then assistant. Maybe they really, because think about who really sees the patient most of the time, the assistant. They're spending the most of the time with them, but now they've got this line to you, and no matter where they are, in college or at a conference or on vacation, they're able to still communicate with you. Right. I think it's been a great just asset to our practice in way more ways than I ever thought.
And I don't know where you are in that process of how long you've been using it and when you thought the benefits of, wow, it's not a short-term fix. You're not going to sign up for dental monitoring and have a huge change in your practice in your life in 3 weeks, 3 months. It takes time, and it takes time to evolve and get the number of people you see down and understand how to read, the scans and see what you're looking for and pick up on things.
You're absolutely right. I think, we are in that we want immediate gratification, right? And I'm very bad at that for sure. But I think that I liken it to when I started working with my marketing company. And they said to me, you're not going to see the ROI in the first 6 months, and maybe not in the first year. It's going to take time for you to see the value of what we're adding.
And everyone tells you that, by the way. And you're like, oh, here we go again.
Right, exactly.
I'm not going to see where my money's going for an extended period of time, and then you're going to leave my practice, and I'm going to be mad that I spent the money.
Right. And I wasn't. And so I guess that was maybe a good experience that I had. And I was starting to see that we were getting more of our calls from just, direct to patient, not from referrals and those kinds of things. So I think with dental monitoring, it's the same thing. You're not maybe going to see that, like you said, in the first 2 months. You're not going to see it. It takes that time that you have to, build up. You've got to learn the software. You've got to train your staff. You've got to implement it into your daily work schedule, and then you start to see the benefits of it.
And it doesn't come without trials and tribulations, obviously.
Right.
Getting my staff on board, I thought would be the hardest thing, and that's why I had to, lay down the law of you're 100% or 100% out. And I think really for doctors in general, you probably had that same idea. You're like, you don't want to go into this and just dabble in it or put your toe in it. You don't know what the water feels like till you jump in and you stay in the water. And I just think that, for a lot of people, no one likes change. No one likes trying to tell their staff they've got to do something else because that's more time. Guess what? We don't want more time. Our time's stretched thin enough. Right. It's like, that's just one more thing for me to have to train them. That's one more thing for me to have to oversee. It's one more thing. And I'm horrible about delegation.
Yes,
I need to get better about that. But I've also been able to retain not delegating because I can look at all the scans. I know exactly what's going on with my patients. And so, there's so many more positives with dental monitoring than negatives, in my opinion, just because you can do more because you have more time to do what you want, whether it's vacation, studying, how patients' treatments are going, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right that it's a mindset, and it starts with the doctor. You have to be the one to drive the train. But it cannot, just like anything, if you did 10 aligner cases, you're not going to get.
Has your staff ever said, hey, let's try this? No, they've never said that. They're like, we've got to,
Right.
No, he's going to a meeting. He's going to come back with ideas. How are we going to try to kill this subplot before he tries to do something different?
Absolutely. And I always try to, I definitely work better if it's we're going to try one idea. We're going to implement one new thing. And I try to come to with my staff and say, it's anything that we do that's going to change the practice, always understand that it's either for the best interest of our patients, for the best interest of the practice, for you guys, for better quality of life. So you've got to think about it as a positive,
Right.
And you're going to try things that are not going to work. And I tell them, if we try it and we don't like it and it doesn't work, we can always go back,
Right.
but we don't know.
This is an opportunity. You guys, we get to do this.
Right.
We don't have to do this. We get to. And so, it's about changing the culture, changing their mindset. And then once they start seeing that,
Right.
then the fire starts feeding itself, and they almost get more into it than what I am.
They do. And I try to bring those cases, we'll look at scans, or I'll say, hey, guys, go back and look at this patient. Look at where they started and look at what's happening,
We've seen them 3 times in 15 months.
Right.
Fantastic.
Look at the changes that we're seeing. And so, getting them excited about the technology. And I think when you just start to talk about it, it's as a normal part of your practice, then, it just becomes this is what we do. We mention it from day one.
It's a new standard of care, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we mention it in the new patient exam. We have them download the app. We are starting from that point as not you can do this, but this is
What you have to do.
You get
Excuse
to
me.
do
Well,
this.
we get to do. Right.
We get to, this is how this is an enhancement to your treatment. We're able to monitor you. It's more oversight with less time. We try to highlight all the conveniences to them because it's all,
Sure.
we're human. We want to know what's in it for us.
Right.
What is in it. And I tell them it's no more, it's part of the treatment. It's not more cost to you, nothing like that. It's for me to help give you the best results, with hopefully making it more convenient.
I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, and they said, we can create this perfect product in dental monitoring, but what's beautiful about it is you're going to use it totally different than I'm going to use it based on where you practice and where I practice or what I'm looking to get out of it. But it's never ending, all the tools that we can keep pulling from once you get more and more comfortable with it. And then you go, well, I wonder if we could do this. I wonder if I could track this. And it just, it's just awesome. It's been the best renewal. Like I said, I went from burnout to blast off, and at that point in time, I thought I'd never hear me be excited about orthodontics again. I was just done. I was burnt.
I hear you. I mean, it's been 9 years.
We still have days, but
right,
not like every day.
We do. And COVID, I think gave us a whole different perspective on the world, and I just thought, is this really what I want to do? And I spent so much time, getting to this point, and then what does my life look like? What's important to me? And I just recently got married a few months ago, and that's changed my priorities about, what time I want to spend in the office. And I think
time demands get stretched thinner and thinner.
Right. With just as your life goes on and kids and all those things. And I think it's just allowed us to, bring back the great parts of orthodontics, the things we love about it. Because at the end of it, it's treating patients, right? It's creating smiles and confidence in kids, and it's those things that we want to kind of build up, and not necessarily all the clinical stuff that you have to do. And I think it allows us to do that. It gives the patient experience. I think, when they're in the office, it gives you more time to focus on like he said this morning, the gushy stuff, the soft stuff. You get to talk to them about their.
You get to put a little heart into it instead of, hey, I've got to get this procedure done so we can get you out the door so I can put somebody else in the chair.
Right, because you probably already reviewed that scan. You know what they're coming for. Your appointments are not unscheduled, like you said, and your team looks more on top of it. You look like you know what you're doing, and that they feel that they're a person in your practice, not just another number.
And for my office, I always had emergencies. I always, like you said, you never know what's coming in. It could be somebody comes in and they have 4 broken brackets, or somebody comes in and they do everything you tell them to do. And unfortunately, you forget those people because they do such a good job and the system works. You have to deal with the people that don't do what they wanted to happen. And so for me, we don't have any unscheduled appointments. We don't have any emergencies anymore per se. It's just, you just keep opening more and more doors of ways to implement and use this instead of getting hung up on, oh my gosh, this is costing me X amount. What's my return on investment? And if you have that mindset, you're never going to get the return on investment.
Absolutely.
You're tripping over $100 bill to save a nickel.
It is absolutely what you said, a mindset. You've got to change your thinking. I say all the time, this is not my dad's practice. This ain't your daddy's practice anymore. I mean, the things that we have changed in that time frame, and it's amazing the way, why didn't we see people every 4 weeks? Just because we always had, Why? Because
the people I talked to in school or right after I got out of residency, that's what they did, so I guess I'm going to do that. Right. So it's a monkey see, monkey do, or just continuing on the same path down, just climbing a hill and never getting to the top of it. Right. With DM, you feel like, oh my gosh, I finally gotten to the top, and I can see a world around me where I actually have time to go play golf, or I actually have time to do this, or, say hi to loved ones, spend some time with somebody instead of being, man, I'm going to be late again tonight because we're backed up, we're 30 minutes behind.